You may have heard the rumors, and if you haven't, you'll definitely want to know what went down at the airport involving rapper Jim Jones. A seasoned artist with a legendary career in hip-hop, Jim has never been far from the spotlight. But this time, it's not about his music or his entrepreneurial ventures. Instead, reports are swirling about a heated altercation at an airport that may have turned into a full-blown fight. What began as a routine travel day quickly escalated into something far more serious, with witnesses, video footage, and potential legal consequences in the mix. Could this altercation be the one that threatens Jim Jones's career? Is he facing a lawsuit that could ruin everything he's worked for? This incident is one that has fans, security, and even law enforcement talking. In this video, we'll break down all the shocking details, from what sparked the altercation to Jim Jones's potential legal fallout. We're diving deep into the eyewitness accounts, leaked footage, and statements from both sides of the story. By the end, you'll have a complete understanding of the situation and what's at stake for Jim. Let's get into it. It all began as a normal travel day at the airport, with passengers checking in, flight attendants preparing for their next departure, and security doing their job to ensure everything ran smoothly. However, what no one expected was the altercation. That would put Jim Jones front and center in the news, not for his music, but for a very different reason. Sources close to the situation have said that Jim was already a little on edge when he arrived at the airport. There had been reports of delays, long security lines, and what might have been personal issues weighing on his mind. Anyone who has traveled through a busy airport knows how stressful the experience can be. And for someone like Jim Jones, who's used to a certain level of service, it's easy to see how frustration could build up quickly. According to some eyewitnesses, things started to escalate when Jim arrived at the check-in counter. Sources claim he got into a disagreement with an airline employee over seating arrangements or perhaps issues related to baggage. While these kinds of issues are common for travelers, the stakes were a little higher for Jim, considering his celebrity status and the fact that he may have been already dealing with the stress of the travel experience. As Jim continued to check in, some passengers recognized him, leading to an impromptu meet-and-greet session. For celebrities like Jim, the airport can often turn into a public event, and that might have been the last straw. If Jim was already frustrated, the last thing he probably wanted was to be bombarded by fans asking for photos or autographs. Reports suggest that someone may have been pushy or even disrespectful, which could have further escalated the situation. But what really set the stage for the confrontation was an encounter at the TSA security checkpoint. It's not uncommon for high-profile individuals to be subjected to additional screening due to their public status. Some insiders have suggested that Jim may have felt singled out or humiliated by being asked to go through extra procedures. For someone used to a certain level of treatment, this could have been seen as an unnecessary or even unjust demand. According to sources close to the incident, things began to escalate at the TSA checkpoint when a security officer intervened. Initially, the argument was just verbal, but it quickly became more intense. Witnesses reported seeing Jim's body language grow tense, his voice rising, and his words becoming sharper. What started as a disagreement over procedures turned into a verbal confrontation. Then, as tensions reached their peak, things took a shocking turn. Some reports suggest that Jim Jones was defending himself, possibly reacting to something he felt was a disrespectful action. There are conflicting stories, with some insiders claiming that the altercation was triggered when an airport staff member or another passenger pushed him too far. Others argue that the fight was simply a result of an unavoidable clash of egos, Jim feeling disrespected and someone else pushing him to the breaking point. In the midst of the verbal exchange, one security officer reportedly attempted to separate Jim from the other party. This intervention led to what can only be described as a shoving match. At some point, the situation turned physical, with reports indicating that Jim was involved in a physical confrontation with either the security officer or a fellow traveler. What's unclear is who started the altercation. Did Jim act in self-defense, or did his frustration get the better of him, leading to an aggressive response? This is where things get even more complicated. Eyewitnesses who were present during the altercation have varying accounts of what exactly happened. Some claim they saw Jim lunging forward, possibly to confront another individual, while others suggest that Jim was grabbed first, which could explain his reaction. There's also some speculation that a punch may have been thrown during the altercation, but reports differ on whether Jim was the aggressor or simply reacting to a provocation. As soon as the fight broke out, airport security rushed to the scene, and the situation quickly caught the attention of law enforcement. The moment things became physical, the stakes were raised. The airport is one of the most highly regulated and secure places for any public confrontation, and authorities are quick to respond to any disturbances, especially when they involve a high-profile individual like Jim Jones. At first, it wasn't clear whether Jim would face any legal consequences. While initial reports suggested that both Jim and at least one other individual involved in the altercation were detained, there was confusion over whether Jim was formally arrested or just held for questioning. Some witnesses claimed that Jim was handcuffed and escorted to a holding area within the airport, while others said he was allowed to walk freely but ordered to stay in place while authorities gathered statements from everyone involved. The question now was, would Jim Jones face criminal charges? In situations like this, the authorities don't care who started the altercation. They're concerned with maintaining order. If Jim was found to be disruptive or refused to comply with security, he could face disorderly conduct charges. If it's determined that Jim physically assaulted someone, whether another passenger, an airline employee, or even a security officer, he could face more serious charges, such as assault or battery. Even if no charges are filed against Jim, the situation could still escalate in other ways. Some experts have suggested that the other individual involved in the altercation might choose to file a lawsuit against Jim, claiming damages for emotional distress or even physical harm. This could lead to a drawn-out legal battle that could damage Jim's public image and career. The moment the news of the airport altercation broke, fans and critics alike immediately took to social media to express their opinions. The internet was quick to react, with many defending Jim's actions and others criticizing him for letting his emotions get the better of him. Some fans felt that Jim had every right to stand up for himself, while others believed that a man of his status should have handled the situation differently. The debate became heated, with many questioning whether celebrities should be held to a higher standard when it comes to their public conduct. For days, Jim remained silent, likely due to legal concerns and advice from his team. The longer he stayed quiet, the more the rumors and speculation grew. The public wanted to know what had really happened, and they were waiting for Jim's side of the story. Eventually, Jim took to social media to address the incident, and his response left many people with mixed feelings. In a cryptic Instagram post, Jim shared a simple message: "Ain't no love in these streets, and definitely not in these airports." While it wasn't a detailed explanation, it was enough to fuel further speculation. Was Jim implying that he had been targeted or treated unfairly by airport security? Was he just venting about the situation? Or was he hinting at something more? His cryptic post sparked a flood of comments, with fans rallying behind him and asking for more details. A few hours later, Jim went live on Instagram to address the situation directly. In the live video, he acknowledged that an altercation had indeed occurred, but explained that he had been provoked. "When somebody disrespects you, there's only so much you can take before you got to check them," Jim said. His message was clear: he wasn't backing down from his actions. He even admitted that, in the heat of the moment, he wasn't thinking about the consequences, but that he had reacted to being disrespected. However, when a fan asked if he regretted his actions, Jim paused for a moment and replied, "Yeah, I probably could have handled it different. But at the same time, I ain't gonna let nobody play with me." As Jim's response was dissected by the public, the music industry began to take notice. Jim Jones is a respected figure in hip-hop, known not just for his music, but also for his business ventures. However, one wrong move can change everything, especially in the entertainment world where public perception is key. Record labels, business partners, and even streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music are watching closely, with some fearing that this incident could hurt Jim's career. If legal action is taken, whether through criminal charges or a lawsuit from the other party, the fallout could be severe. However, some believe that the controversy could actually work in Jim's favor, boosting his visibility and curiosity around his music. As the debate rages on, the only thing certain is that Jim's future is now in the hands of the courts, his fans, and the public's perception of his actions. The next few weeks will be crucial in determining whether Jim Jones can recover from this altercation or if it will be a defining moment in his career. What happens next will have significant consequences, not only for his career, but also for his personal reputation and legacy. As always in the world of celebrity, one incident can change everything. Will Jim Jones come out unscathed, or is this the beginning of the end of his career? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure: this story isn't over yet. Stay tuned as more details continue to unfold.